No thanks.
It's not what you think.
Doesn't matter what I think. I'm out of here.
You can't leave, not without us. We've been waiting for you. You're the messenger
The messenger?
to deliver Laurent.
Well, you know, Daryl, as long as you don't run into anybody called Abby, I think you should be totally fine. Get the hell out of there, Daryl. Hey guys, it's Dan, your host of Dan's Reviews, and today I'm back for another video for The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, and in today's video we're going to be doing our very first review for the Daryl Dixon series. This is our review for Season 1, Episode 1, titled L'Homme Perdue. Alright guys, this one's going to be doing a review today. This one's going to be doing a review for The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. And in today's video, we're back with a review for the first episode of Daryl Dixon. The Daryl Dixon series has officially started. You can now stream the first episode on AMC Plus, or tonight on AMC. It doesn't really matter. Today is the day Daryl Dixon begins. The Walking Dead content is back, and I'm very, very happy to have the return of the Walking Dead franchise. And I think it came back swinging too. Daryl Dixon, in my opinion, had a very awesome premiere. We're going to go into it, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to, go in depth. So, basically, this series obviously is one of many. Walking Dead is doing many spin-offs right now. You got Dead City going on in New York. You've got Daryl Dixon now in France, and we're going to be getting Rick and Michonne here pretty soon. We're going to get the wrap-up of their story, and, we're going to get Fear the Walking Dead here pretty soon. So, a lot of spin-offs going on. There's a lot of, different spin-offs that are either in the works or spin-offs that are going on. And this one, admittedly, guys, even, back in the day when I heard about this was like my least type spinoff of all of them. I'm gonna be honest. This was like my least type spinoff, just because I was like, okay, like, it's just Daryl, he's just going to France, like, what's the big deal, you know what I mean? And I can definitely say after the first episode that this was a really damn good start to this series. I mean, this was a really good start. Not to mention, the episode's an hour long, so you actually get a good amount of stuff, going on in this episode. And I think overall they did really good. I mean, I have minor nitpicks with the episode. I have minor things I thought they could have done better. But overall, I think they did a really fantastic job with it. And I think they did a really good job introducing us to this spinoff. So we'll go into the episode from beginning to end, and then we'll discuss in between. So here we go. Spoiler warning if you haven't seen the episode yet, because we're about to jump into it. So the episode begins. You've got Daryl. This is several months, apparently, after the end of the original Walking Dead. And he wakes up on a upside down boat, basically. He washes up, and you've got, Daryl, he's like trying to drink water out of like a bucket or whatever of like sand and stuff. He's just trying to, hydrate. And he stays in like this one like parked boat or whatever for the night. And he's like listening to like old recordings of like some guy and, talking about his family and stuff. And basically, he uses this radio to try to see if anybody's out there. And he says, "My name's Daryl Dixon. I come from a place called the Commonwealth. It's in America, right?" And he's like, "I went out looking for something, and all I found was trouble." And he's like, "If I don't make it back, I want him to know I tried. Hell, I'm still trying, And he heads out there. We get some absolutely incredible visuals as he's heading out there. And we see him going through. And then he runs into what is the Burners, which is a new type of walker that basically, if you get too close to them or if they, go after you or whatever, they'll end up burning you. And Daryl fights these guys, but he gets a burn on his arm, right? So Daryl's not doing so good. He's got a burn on his arm now. He's got scars all over his face. He's not really sure how the hell he's getting back home. He's not really sure where the hell he is. And it's a very desperate type of, opening scene. So that was pretty cool. Now, we get the opening scene, the intro for the show. I think the intro for this series is really good. You got a lot of really nice visuals with, France. You got, like, some fires everywhere, some, like, stained glass and stuff like that. And you can see a lot of really nice, shots of, like, Daryl. You got, like, Daryl and Laurent looking at, like, the Statue of Liberty and stuff. I think the intro is really good. I think I might prefer the Dead City one just a little bit, but I think that this intro is definitely very nice as well. Now, we then get, of course, the scene with Daryl. He's kind of walking through the woods, and you've got Isabel that's watching him from a distance. So this is when she kind of runs into him. She's kind of watching him from far, seeing him for the first time. And anyway, you got Daryl that sees like the sign that says like God loves you, and he kind of like laughs it off or whatever, and he kind of keeps going, because that's not really Daryl's thing, like God loves you and stuff. Like he doesn't really care about that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Now, we then have Daryl. He runs into the girl and her father, who is, like the old man or whatever. And she's like, hey, you're an American guy. What's cracking, noob? Which, that line's still cringe. I'm not going to lie to you. But, anyway, she's like, I speak English very good. How are you, And anyway, they kind of act friendly at first. And this definitely did not throw me off. I mean, I called it from the very beginning. Daryl ends up getting screwed over by these guys, right? And these guys try to, take down Daryl. And basically what goes down is that, they trade some food at first, and it seems like everything's legit. And then you get these two guys that pull up in this vehicle, and they attack all three of them, Daryl, the old man, and the woman. And basically, Daryl and them, they take these guys down. They kill them, which was a really exciting scene, by the way. Daryl gets, shot or something. There's, a bunch of blood coming out of his neck. And he's kind of doing this or whatever. And he's down on the ground and he's like, can you get me my medical bag, And then the girl screws him over and the old man knocks Daryl out and they take all his stuff and they frickin' skedaddle, you know what I mean? So, yeah, they screwed him over big time and Daryl's out. Luckily, though, we have Isabel that comes in and saves his life. So that's how that goes. So that woman and the old man get away and steal Daryl's stuff, basically. Now, Isabel takes Daryl, and this is when we cut to Daryl. He is with the nuns now, and basically they're treating his wound, right, the burn, right? They're trying to help him, so they put a thing, in his mouth so that he doesn't scream too loud, and they help him out, right? So Daryl wakes up, I think it's the next day or so, and he's basically asking what is this place, you know what I mean? And we see it's a full compound of nuns. Now, apparently, according to Isabel, this place used to be a lot bigger, but over the course of time, the place has kind of shrunken, they've lost people, which is realistic in the zombie apocalypse. I think that definitely makes sense, but the place is thriving enough, And I really like the scene where you've got Daryl, he's kind of in the bath, and she's bathing him or whatever, and she notices the scars, right? And Daryl mentions it was his old man. He was a smoker, right? And he mentions his brother. He does mention Merle, which I thought was really, really cool. And she says basically I guess we're not all that different. And basically Daryl notices that she has scars on her wrist, and then he's like, okay, so maybe we're not all that different, And she kind of hesitates on that, she doesn't really mention the scars, but we notice that she does have some. So I thought that was pretty cool. And basically, Daryl, gets dressed up. He's got his suspenders on and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And he walks out there. And I really like what they do with it because the nuns, have never seen, an American, let alone, a male in their group, it's really weird for them. So everybody's, kind of scared of them. They're you got, Sylvie that, walks up to him and, gives him this, tray of stuff. She's, kind of shaking, she's Daryl. She's, she puts her head down. She keeps going, So I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of, like I said, realistic. I like that. And anyway, you've got Daryl. He's, kind of walking through, and he's, not really sure what to make of this place. He thinks the place is kind of weird, which we hear him say later on. And he does meet Laurent, who basically wants Daryl to solve a Rubik's Cube, and Daryl's just like, I ain't doing this. I'm not really good at stuff like that, which, again, very in character for Daryl. I'll say one thing about this spinoff. He is in character. Daryl is Daryl, for sure. He has not changed, and I love that. That was actually the one thing I was kind of scared of from this spinoff, is Daryl going to, kind of act out of character? No, Daryl is perfect. I mean, he's literally exactly what he's supposed to be. But anyway, so you got Laurent, he's kind of there, and we find out basically that Laurent is a very important asset, which leads into the plot of the series, which is the revival of humanity, as they put it. So Laurent is basically responsible for what might be the revival of humanity, or, and we kind of get a little bit more of it in this episode. But again, it's not fully established. I wouldn't say fully established, but the general idea is that Daryl has to get Laurent somewhere, and he has to, do this whole kind of thing. That's the mission, and that's why the nuns want Daryl, is because he's the only one that can complete this mission, and he's the fighter they've been looking for, right? And there is some irony in this one, too, where, Laurent drew a picture of Daryl, and the picture looks kind of just like Daryl, but it's, he didn't know what Daryl looked like before, so it's kind of ironic in that kind of way, so, yeah, there you go. But, yeah, that's Laurent for you. He doesn't really have too much else in this episode, but he is, he's there, you know what I mean? So, the big thing we get in this one is this Caudron guy. He basically finds the two guys that, Daryl killed, right? He finds them dead. and one of them is Caudron's brother. So then Caudron gets upset. We see a scene where he has to put his zombified brother down, and he goes right to the nun compound, pissed as hell, wanting to kill the American. Daryl's in there, and basically Daryl ends up sneaking out like a minute before Caudron shows up, and he sees him pull up, and Caudron walks into the nun compound and searches the entire place, right? And they have to hide Laurent, they have to hide him for his own protection, but Caudron goes in there, storms the place, and, that whole kind of thing. Now, I thought this was pretty cool because Daryl is just thinking at that moment, like, I'm just going to leave, you know what I mean? Like, I have no purpose here. I don't want to do any of this stuff. This place is weird. That type of thing. Daryl just wants to be on his own and find his way back to America somehow, right? But that's not really going to be an option, at least as of right now. So Daryl goes back in there and he actually helps them fight back against Caudron, which I thought was a really cool scene because they're about to find Laurent, and then they do. And, Isabel, like, can't really do nothing about it. Caudron wants to take Laurent for himself, and Daryl comes in and starts killing Caudron's guys, right? And there's a big fight that breaks out. You got the nuns that come out with their knives. They start stabbing a bunch of them. They actually lose a lot of their nuns, too. Like, I think Sylvie and, like another one or so, like, those are, like, the only big ones that actually survive. Sylvie, Isabel, and, like, that one older one, but she dies later on anyway, right? But anyway, there's a really awesome battle there. Daryl ends up fighting like several of Caudron's men, and then he does face off one-on-one against Caudron. Now, this fight scene was pretty damn good too. I really like the cinematography here. I really like the way they did it, and I think overall it was a really intense fight scene, right? But Caudron gets away, of course. We have to have a villain for the season. He gets out. Daryl shoots at him, but he gets away. So there you go. Caudron is still alive at the end of this episode, and that's the way it goes. And basically at the end of this, you got the older lady that, slips away, and you've got Daryl, Laurent, Sylvie, and Isabel that are sitting around a campfire at the end, basically. And you've got Daryl that's just like, I washed up, something happened to me, I was on a boat, I washed up here, I met a bad group of people, and then ran into a nun, and here I am, you know what I mean? And he's like, can you get me back to that spot? Maybe I can find a way to get back to America, back to my friends, and she's like, yeah, sure, and he's like, okay, great, and we kind of zoom out, and that is the end of the episode. So, man, really good, really, really damn good. This is what I'd say about it. I think this was a really fantastic episode. You know what I mean? I thought this was a really fantastic episode. I think they did a really good job with Daryl. I think the setting of the show, the budget, was really just hardcore. Caudron, I thought was good. I like that there's motives with his brother. I like that. You know what I mean? I thought that was all really good, and I think overall it was a good premise for a first episode, And the preview for this season looks really, really good too. You know what I mean? And we do obviously know that we're gonna see the boat that Daryl was on. We literally met the leader at the end of the episode, and she wants to go after Daryl. You know what I mean? So we're gonna see a lot of that stuff. We're gonna see a lot of what's going on with Daryl in that boat and how exactly he got to France and stuff like that. So we're gonna learn about that as we continue, but at least for this first episode, I'd say my only nitpicks with this one is I still don't like the show starting off with Daryl on an upside-down boat. It's just not a way to start a show. I think they could have done it in a way better way, to be honest. And I also just think overall that the whole, nuns thing and then whatever, it's a little out there for sure. I think there is a lot of stuff that's a little bit convenient in this show. I'm gonna be honest, but I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it, and I think this episode is gonna get a 9 out of 10 for me. I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good start for the series, and I'm excited to see where it goes next. You know what I mean? I think there's definitely a lot that could be done here. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of the first episode of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Write your comments in the comment section below, and if you're new to the channel and you enjoy this video, make sure to click the subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. And of course, I'll see you guys really soon for more videos for The Walking Dead. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and peace out.